Stay low. Welcome to The Outside Edge, where I present to you perspectives you might not have considered before, where if you have, I'm hoping to carve just a little bit deeper. So today it's very fortunate that I have Skatefresh Asha, who's the most direct and popular inline skating instructor on the planet. I was in Miami last week for the Skater Migration, and so was Asha, and I had a chance to observe her lessons. I had an opportunity to skate with her, both in the group context and just her and I on Ocean Drive and Lincoln Road to Collins, and we had a few surprises along the way, but we'll talk about those another time.
We're in 20. You guys want to go to Collins with me?
Yeah.
So Asha, of course, is not only a master of skating, she's a master of teaching, and I've watched her students make incredible progress in very short amounts of time. She's taught thousands of people how to skate, so when she speaks about subjects, I listen because her body of evidence that she's personally dealt with is just gigantic. So this was an incredible experience for me, and I hope you enjoy this interview with Asha Kirkby of Skatefresh.
All right, quiet on set.
Take 392.
Yeah, we're in the 45th minute of our interview
Yes.
from yesterday that we didn't get audio for.
These things happen.
So Skater Migration is done, right?
It is done. What an event. Wasn't that great?
Yeah, it was crazy having two events going on at the same time.
Yeah, you did multiple, I did multiple things with like Skater Migration and classes, and you did two different events in the same city.
Yeah, and two very different personalities to the groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like one was wild, crashing through red lights, drinking beer on their skates, twerking at a gas station. And the other one was like very well organized, a venue with a restaurant and a skate park and instructors and all that sort of stuff.
Well, it's obviously, they've all got the right idea, which is come to Miami in the winter, because this is the place to be.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous. I came once in 2015 when the event used to be called Great Escape.
Yes.
And it was fabulous, but I've just never been able to come again until now. And now I feel like I don't want to go a year without missing it.
Yeah, especially considering where we're from.
I know, exactly. We're all freezing cold this time of year. And look at us, it's 5:30 at night, we got t-shirts on, it's just ideal and perfect.
So when I got here, it was registration day, and I didn't really want to go to registration day.
Right.
Because it was just a bunch of people milling around.
Yep.
But I knew you were teaching lessons, and I wanted to have a little look, so I went and got some footage.
Yeah, it was nice. I was...
And the footage, when I was getting the footage, I really liked your teaching style. You were teaching the drag stop.
What, bossy and demanding.
Yes, I like that you said to people when they were close to getting something, but they didn't listen to your instructions verbatim, you tell them you don't get a point. You didn't stop entirely. Well, they came close to stopping.
No, Marissa, you did not stop. No, Pablo, you did not stop. Yes, Chris, one point. Yes.
Right.
But until you actually stop, you don't really realize that you're in an unstable or stable position.
Well, in your driving test in England, we have stop signs. And if your wheels do not actually stop at the stop sign, you fail your driving test.
Yeah.
Right? So the point is, okay, we don't have skating tests unless you're doing an instructor course. But, I think if you're practicing a stop, I think it's only a stop if it actually stops.
Yes.
And particularly the drag slide, it's the amount of people who just go and then they're still going.
Yeah.
And they haven't actually nailed it.
Yes.
And I just try to get my students into this idea that, you have to test yourself. Like, I'm not going to be there the whole time forcing you to stop on a line, right? Therefore, you have to kind of make it your mission to slide to a stop. Just one of my things. It's not a stop unless it stops.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's a kind of slow down.
I agree.
I always say that drag stop could be called the T slow down sort of stop.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I use it more I use it only for slowing down now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think a lot of people who are even intermediate skaters now have something at the end, whether it's a spin or a power slide or a power stop. Well, maybe not intermediate, but
I think combining stops is a perfect, this is why I'm always banging on about having a repertoire of multiple stopping methods. because it's actually quite difficult to do a T slide drag to a complete stop. You know, I quite like T into stepping plow, or T into power slide, or T into power stop. You know.
Do you teach the double drag to fairly new people?
Sides? Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. As soon as you're getting your stronger side, I think it's really time to practice the other one. Yeah. Mainly so you don't just get weird hips or, weird one really big leg because you've got that ability to stand on that
or
leg.
Or a groin tear, or
I
may or may not have had.
Shredded wheels on one side only,
Pointies on the right side.
Exactly. So I think, a lot of skills, it's really worth having them on both sides, but particularly the drag stop.
We were talking yesterday, and we're talking about what keeps people from skating and what makes people drop out. I always thought that that people not being able to stop is a very important thing, and maybe the scariest thing. I hear a lot of people who don't even skate that'll say, "Oh yeah, I'd love to skate, but it looks like you can't stop on those, or stopping is tough." So what things do you think make somebody successful once they've started skating?
Well, I always say it's relatively easy to put on a pair of skates and go. You just shift your weight from one foot to the other, and you're going to move. The equipment's so good, the bearings work. You don't even need great technique. You just put your feet in a pizza shape, and off you go.
Yeah.
So it's really relatively easy to go on skates.
Yes.
Stopping, whole different ball game. Stopping really does take some proper technique, some thought, some ability to control your edges or weight bear. Whether you're doing a heel brake stop, you're still balancing on the back leg 80%. Yeah. Whether you're doing a T-stop, T-drag, you're balancing more on one foot to slide the other.
And I loved what you were saying yesterday, that planted foot that you're relying on, you're not just establishing an angle and coasting to a stop. You're fighting and twitching, and you're moving back and forth. Even as an advanced person, you're constantly recalibrating with that.
I call it the micromanagement of your knee.
Yes.
You see it, micromanaging.
Right, and that micromanagement is millimeters, and us, we probably unconsciously, we're not really that aware of doing it anymore. But when you see, upper beginners, advanced beginners or lower intermediates, and they're trying to T-slide to a stop, you get them, I hopefully get them thinking about that micromanagement of the knee. Because that's how and I call it conscious edge control.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to teach my students. We have 3 edges on our skates, inside, center, and outside. And it's not random. I mean, if you're not thinking about it, it will be random which edge you're on.
Yeah.
But you can consciously get control of which edge you're on.
And a lot of people think, watching us, that you find your balance. You find that place where it's just easy and you're centered and it's your body's in the right place, but you're constantly recalibrating. You don't find your balance, you work for your balance the whole time, really.
And I also think as a beginner or lower intermediate, the center edge is the easiest place to begin with trying to find your balance on.
Yes.
Right? Because an inside edge, your weight's already going that way. An outside edge, your weight's already going that way, and you can't control it yet. So in the lower ability range, I'm really trying to get people to find their center edge, bend their knee on top of it. That's the place you can heel brake, T-slide, glide when you're skating.
And it's good, great application for actually skating.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll talk about our pet peeves. You go first. What's the pet peeve of yours, the one thing that people miss when they start skating and they go into advanced skills without even learning a specific
Well, my first
component?
I got several. So this could be a long list. First pet peeve is people just listening to peer pressure and taking off their brake when they're a complete beginner. I believe very quickly just that the heel brake is the easiest method to learn when you're a total beginner.
I agree.
And I have seen thousands and thousands of skaters over my 23 years teaching, and what I see is the skaters that remove their heel brake from the beginning are asking themselves to learn to skate using harder stopping methods like the plow or the stepping plow or the T or the spin. And by asking themselves to learn something harder, they don't do it so well, obviously. And often they then might, have a fall, get injured early on. And, this is to answer your question earlier on, why do people drop out of skating? Usually because they have a fall and they get hurt early on in their in the first few weeks or a couple of months, and then they
Falling
go,
on pavement.
This is just too hard. This is hard. This is painful.
You're saying you mentioned that skiing is maybe a lot easier to face up to the consequences if something goes wrong, as opposed to straight.
You fall over skiing, it's kind of soft and fluffy, and it feels fabulous in comparison to falling over on concrete, right?
Yeah.
And interestingly, the beginner take-up rate of lessons in skiing is like 98%. Very few people will go on a ski holiday for the first time and go, oh, I'll just put the skis on and figure it out myself.
I've never taken an inline skating lesson in my life, but I still want to continue taking ski lessons every time I go out for at least a morning.
So, is that because skiing is downhill, so there's this concept that, you could accelerate, but I also think that getting it wrong on skis isn't quite as bad, I think, as getting it wrong on tarmac.
You could wipe out 8 times in a day and just be
be fine,
a
right?
little bit sore.
I mean, I didn't ski until I was about 19 years old, and I'd already been a figure skater on quads. And I'd been smashing myself on tarmac, learning double axels, and, falling over on skis. I would just laugh. I was just like, this is fun. This is great. So I do think so. My first pet peeve is people removing the heel brake, and more advanced skaters telling beginners to take their heel brake off.
Yes. We talked about the heel brake yesterday. About
what do you think about it? You're a super cool skater. I'm sure you've never used the heel brake before, and you don't need to.
I used the heel brake for a full year.
Oh, you did?
And then going on and off curbs, I found it sometimes catching when I was going slow
If
or
you were too
curving
slow.
off of a curb. So I found every time I got a heel brake that I was having to wear it down, like just sit there and grind it out so I could actually get my foot out in front of me and I could use my quads and my glutes instead of just pulling back with those tibs on my shin.
The braking angle is very shallow when the brake is
when
new
it's
and
new,
big.
Yeah. And you said PowerSlide has it.
Well, PowerSlide has a brake called the HABS, H-A-B-S, Height Assisted Braking System.
Yes.
And it's basically the heel brake is adjustable in height. It's not connected to a metal lever, with the screws on the wheels. It's a completely different, it's a very ingenious method. And what it means is that you can higher and lower the size of the brake. And as it works, so you can have the perfect braking angle for you from the beginning without having to shred it first.
$5 worth of rubber.
Exactly. And then as it wears down, you can then lower it so you retain your perfect angle week on week on week.
I like that. I really
genius.
hated just grinding. It's very hard to grind it out.
It is hard.
I was actually using my hands at first until I get the angle to grind it out.
I know people
that
have taken it, my husband's taken it to the tool shop and cut it off with a
steak
hacksaw.
knife.
Yeah. So check out the HABS PowerSlide braking system. They have it on the Swell. They have it on a few of their different models. So that's, I think one of the best ingenious methods. But did you guys catch that? He used the brake for the first year when he started. This is music to my ears because I think somewhere, I don't know where, the heel brake got a bad rap. And I think, and I understand why intermediate skaters, I think once you have 1 or 2 or 3 other methods, fine, take your heel brake off. If you can stop using a T-drag, a power stop, a power slide, a step and plow, there go the sirens, then, fine, take off your heel brake. But what I notice is the beginners who take off the heel brake, they progress slower than the ones who kept the heel brake. And I don't mean progress at stopping, I mean progress in skating.
Yeah, I was tearing through the city and I had a nice little, I even had a little curvy heel brake thing. I wasn't even putting any weight. Sometimes I was up on one foot and it looks pretty cool. But the problem with that as far as ego is the heel brake is a bit conspicuous as far as it tells others that you're like intermediate or beginner. And I think the ego sometimes gets in the way. But I relied on it.
I don't know, in England we have L plates for learner drivers.
Oh, yes,
right?
It's the L plate.
And they're learning, and after they've passed their test, you have to keep an L plate on for a year. Okay. So that just tells everybody on the road, this is a learner driver, they're inexperienced.
Yeah.
And does that mean everyone gives them hell?
No.
No,
they're just another driver, really.
They're just another driver that might need a little bit more. I wish we could look at beginner inline skaters who have a heel brake with that kind of same compassion and respect, and the fact that you can then graduate out of your heel brake. And I think it should be this like celebration.
There's so many progressions that happen before people get the basics down. Like you see people doing 360s off a little bench before they can do a proper stride.
Yikes, I know.
Or trying backwards skating before they even have their arms sorted out or their posture sorted out forward.
Well, this is where the idea of prerequisites comes in, and I think there's a very definite, certainly in my head, in my syllabus, in my school, there's a very definite ordering of learning the skills. Yes. And unfortunately, obviously that's not intuitive to most skaters. Why should they or would they know that? But one of the problems of the internet is that it just lays out all the skills are out there.
Yes.
And everybody goes, well, I want that one and that one and that one. But guess what? There might be 5 different skills in between this one and this one that would be really useful for you to know first.
And it gets some really good skaters sometimes. I see some skaters developing their own style, spending some time doing what they envision they could be and winding up in an extremely special place and maybe being one of a kind in the world, but then they start getting this tick list of backward stairs, jumping backwards off a bench, forward stairs, and they lose track of their style and they become a mediocre version of everybody they're trying to ape. And they lose the beauty of what they were, because we all have such individual styles.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is so special about inline skating. Like style in baseball or football or hockey to a lesser degree isn't really important. There's technique and skills that you need, and deviation from the other styles or the other players is usually quite negative. But inline's so exciting because it's half art, half sport. It's not just sport. We're not jockos.
I agree. I mean, you're super famous for the power stop, and it is, if I could count on, if I got £1 for every intermediate level skater who came to me for a lesson and I say, what do you want to learn? And they say, the power stop, right? So I say, okay, great. Let's see your parallel turn. Let's see your lunge turn. Let's see your lunge turn stop. Let's see your tight edges. Because those are the prerequisites, I think, for the power stop.
Yeah, you need a tight turn.
You need a tight turn.
You need a power slide.
Yeah, well, and you need a power slide, exactly. And then they go, no, I don't want to do those other ones. I just want the power stop. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to see that to get to the power stop, these are the necessary, in my opinion, steps.
Without those necessary steps, you're just going to do a lot of baseball slides and lose a lot of skin.
I was just about to say, I think that the prerequisites are there not to be an unnecessary obstacle, but actually stepping stones, safe stepping stones to get you to what is quite a technically advanced and difficult move.
Yes.
And, how many people do we know who've been 2 years skating along and trying to do what you do, which is, but guess what? They're still moving. They haven't stopped, or they fall over on your hip, or, multiple versions of not doing the power stop.
Yeah, and
So-
once you want to learn the power stop, you have to decide to live it for like a month. You're not just going to go without all the other skills and turns and learn a power stop cold.
Nice.
I can't. It's kind of like trying to dunk your first day of playing basketball.
I'm so glad you agree.
Aiming for a home run when you don't even have a nice swing.
Yeah. I do think prerequisites are one of those. That's the bit in a way that I don't share most of my prerequisite sequences on YouTube, for example. YouTube is a bunch of isolated technique tips that I share. In my normal classes and my online courses, that's when you're going to get my prerequisite kind of progressions and the skill sequencing that leads one thing to another.
But that requires patience, and
It does.
we're in a time where, like, even myself, when I'm out skating and I see a sequence that I've done, and I'm like, ooh, I love what I did there, but I can't post that because it's going to be boring to everybody else. I need some trinkets in there.
But I also think, when someone comes for the power stop, and then I have to convince them that actually you need the power slide first, and you need the lunge stop, and they look instantly defeated, like they're going to kill me because I'm not going to give them what they want today, right?
Yes.
But then I say to them, well, the benefit is you're getting these 2 additional extra skills.
Yeah.
And they're useful for a ton of other examples, and power slide is an awesome stop in and of itself.
And power slide, I find, is like, once you've been skating for a few months, it's a fairly easy one to get once you've got your turns a little tighter.
Yeah.
And it's just so natural to go from a power slide to a power stop.
Exactly.
You just have to address the one foot that's not getting friction, because you've got that other foot ironed out. You don't even have to think about that when you're working on a power stop. You just think about that back leg. One sec here. Sorry. Checking the cameras, and
This one's got a red light on the front.
that's rolling. Good.
Okay. So I think, I do get a lot of intermediate skaters who have the T-stop and they want the power stop next.
Yeah.
And please listen to Bill, because Bill agrees with me that the power slide is well worth the effort, and it sits between the T and the power stop.
I must have done 10,000 power slides before I did one power stop.
Fabulous. Oh, it's music to my ears.
And
So
then when I did have a power stop, or when I thought I had a power stop, I looked at video and I didn't have a power stop. It was just
it was probably an aggressive tight turn, maybe without much slide.
Yeah, it was like a power slide where I ended up in a V without a lot, maybe like an inch of slide.
Yeah.
So, which reminds me, like, this video assessment is a really important tool, and it seems vain to set up a camera and shoot yourself. It's not just for Instagram. I love what it's done for my skating. I've become a much better skater since I turned the camera on myself, because it's so easy to fool yourself into thinking you are doing everything amazingly.
Yeah, I've started in my in-person classes. I like to just take a quick video of everyone. Today we did a stride kind of fitness speed class, and I just spent 30 seconds with each skater, just skating behind them, filming where they were at the beginning,
And turn it around and show them.
Yeah. And then 2 hours later at the end of the class, same thing, film them again.
That immediate feedback
And
is so important.
my kind of challenge to them at the beginning of the class is, if I do my job right and you listen to me and try and copy what I'm suggesting, there should be a difference in those two videos, even if it's only 2 hours apart in one session.
I love that speed skaters will, not glue, I was going to say glue, attach a mirror to the back of a van, and they'll skate behind it and watch their form as they skate.
I know.
It's a little hard to do a power stop and look in the mirror, though.
Yeah, well, that's where your cameras are phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, I do watch it like when I get home, like 1 hour later, and I can make my adjustments.
Yeah. We were also talking about different ideas of why, we're talking about in general, why is the inline skating scene globally not just growing and growing and growing and growing every single year, I mean, I think the pandemic definitely had a boom in all countries, in all kinds of skating. But, for example, in London, every time I go on a London street skate, I notice that there's more kind of new people. I'm like, who are these people? I don't recognize, I don't know who they are. And yet the skate is still the same size. And so every year it's like the same size. I mean, we have probably a couple hundred, 200-300 people in London maybe. But there's all these new people coming in and it's still the same size. And my conclusion, I think, and I think that skating is technically quite difficult compared to most other sports.
You're so conspicuous as a beginner.
Yeah, exactly. And it's most difficult right at the beginning.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Theoretically it gets, the skills get more difficult as you get better, but it also, what you're doing a bit more. So I think what often happens, again, talking about the lack of kind of stopping ability with a lot of beginners, is if they don't learn to stop, you don't gain that confidence, you're much more likely to have a fall early on. And when people have a fall, they're gone. They just go, this is too risky, too dangerous. If I break my wrist, I can't drive, I can't do my job.
It starts to feel like you're being irresponsible.
Exactly. I mean, how many people have you met who say, I've got a pair of rollerblades in my cupboard, and then I say to them, I'm like, why did you stop? And they go, well, I fell over and I really hurt myself, and it's too difficult, can't do it.
It's a very common story. These people that have the rollerblades in the closet.
Exactly. So I think the dropout rate might be anywhere in the region of 40, 50, 60%.
Yeah.
I might be exaggerating, but
Yeah, I would agree with that, or higher. Yeah.
I mean, if you think of how many skates are sold every year, all those skates are not out there being skated on.
Yeah. I think there's also a problem with the sales initially and the way the sport is presented. I think they just weren't presenting the speed skating, the street skating, the slalom skating in a mindful
and
way.
And the social urban skating that we've just done all weekend, right?
They had a sport in a box that's very extreme, very radical. So I think a lot of people that are in charge of like a budget and marketing for these companies, they're very savvy and they're very advanced skaters. And when you advance as a skater, you look for the more radical things, and aggressive skating to me is like an end point. It's not where you start. You don't look at somebody sliding down a rail on their skates as somebody who's never skated before and say, I want to jump on a rail and skate. Generally, the progression is you see a group skate of like regular Joe skaters.
Exactly.
And you're like, wow, they look like they're having so much fun. I want to do that too.
And that looks doable.
And then you're looking for the extreme downhill, and then you're going into the aggressive. And I think the aggressive is so important as far as giving people a place to go and giving inline skating a radical, hardcore image. Yeah. But it's a starting point.
But I also think there's the drawback of that is that, maybe I'm wrong in terms of percentage, but maybe 5 to 10% of skaters, all people on wheels, end up in that aggressive skate park. But I think one of the difficulties of that is, certainly this is happening in the UK, I don't know about other places, but when a local council thinks, let's build some facilities for skaters, they build an aggressive skate park. Yes. So Brighton, my city, is not a big city in the UK. There are 3 skate parks, and they're building another one. But there's no just a flat 2 tennis court sized piece of tarmac where the roller skaters, the dancers, the slalomers, the urban skaters could practice their skills.
I never thought of that. In Canada, we're so spoiled because we have the ice rinks, and then they're converted into rollerblading. I think that's going to change. I think with all these speed skaters with good channels, these street skaters that are coming up, slalom skaters that are able to represent themselves without like corporate backing, I think we're going to see like a major explosion. It's going to be properly represented, not just represented by the 5%.
I do think we need to, in the public eye or the non-skating general public, particularly authorities, I think it'd just be great to widen their vision.
Yes.
To
Maybe
include,
wizard skating is going to do that.
Hopefully.
It's got a lot of people wanting the flat spots.
And hopefully, inline speed skating making it to the Olympics. Like, it's absurd that hasn't happened yet. There's far more people globally who inline speed skate than inline ice speed skate. It's been in the Ice Olympics for decades.
I think Tetris is going to make it to the Olympics first.
Oh, please don't.
It's going to be video games before.
But even the X Games and all of that, it's like how inline speed got jumped over. I still don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to me because inline speed has thousands and thousands of people globally in every country who do it, and we got world championships and European championships and all the rest of it.
Maybe they need to mix it with aggressive skating.
Maybe
massive
we'll
60-mile-an-hour downhills with mega ramps at the bottom.
We'll see. Well, hopefully together, and what we each try to do individually in skating. Ultimately, we're both, I think, just trying to get people into skating, keep people in skating, keep people, motivated and inspired and having fun.
We do represent like different sides of skating.
Yeah.
But it's very related. Like your street skating's phenomenal. My transition skating that you do is terrible. But
you mean transitions forward to backwards?
Yeah, but I've incorporated the backward inverted mohawk.
Yes, I saw you do
in
it.
Ice skating. I did it in ice skating, and it feels. It's hard to control the spin.
Yes. Well, any rotation, once you start, the difficulty is then to stop it.
Yeah. But anything figure skating or concentrating on transitions, it does become a lot of fun, but it's just so frustrating to nail down. It took me 3 months like a year to
the backwards inverted mohawk.
Work out the backward inverted mohawk, like a little.
But you've got an awesome forward outside 3-turn. Like you've got a one-footed 3-turn, which is, for most people that's harder than the inverted mohawk. But it just depends, where you're at with it.
I think it came from watching ice tutorials and then going out and trying shit in a place where when I fall I can slide.
Yeah.
But it still hurts if you land on like something bony. But sliding on ice is so much better than sliding on pavement.
It's so true.
As everybody knows.
So true. Well, Bill, it's been so nice to be able to skate with you again in another country.
Yes.
And who knows, one day I might make it to Canada. I would love to. I know you do your event in September, is it?
Yes, Toronto Roll. Toronto Roll is going to be in the second or first week of September this year. We're working it out. I want to announce in like the next week or two. I hope I can.
Okay. I unfortunately am going to Spain for several weeks in September, so I can't make it. But are you generally going to keep trying to do it that time of year?
Yeah, we're looking at also doing an early one in June where it's just to start the season. So we get a little more hyped up throughout the summer and people know that the Bentway is a place to go and skate. It really is it's the spot that you're asking for.
That's the bit under that you shoot a lot of your videos at.
Figure eight where you actually have a full 100 meters.
Beautiful surface, right? It looks like butter.
Immaculate surface. You can get your top speed in a way that you couldn't possibly in an ice rink because it's longer, and people are hanging out there. I guess the only problem is it's like turned incredibly Spanish, and that I don't know Spanish, so I've got to learn the language. Fantastic. All my amigos are there now, and I don't know what they're talking about.
Great. Well, I hope you have an awesome event. I hope to make it there one year, and keep posting, keep inspiring us. And
thank you. I love skating with you in Miami and hearing how in love you are with the surfaces and the architecture and the lushness of Miami.
Well, we don't have that great surfaces in England, and we have great architecture. It's just different, right? And
lots of stairs.
I appreciate warmth and sunshine and tropicalness, and I'm a born traveler. I love being home and going home, and I love to travel.
I think you're going to move to Miami someday. I think it's your end game.
I know, and it also feels very Latin. I mean, it's making me miss Brazil being here. It's been 4 years since I've been to Brazil. I haven't been since before the pandemic.
And you speak the language, right?
I do. I speak Spanish and Portuguese. And the other day we met for a skate, and it was 11 o'clock in the morning, and everybody was out drinking and dancing, and it just by the beach. It felt very Latin and very fun. And there's definitely a part of me that's sort of Latin in my soul.
I've got to get there.
Yeah, well, you could definitely say we got two definite Miami fans here, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm in love with Miami.
Yeah, me too.
So, thank you guys, thank you skaters for checking out the interview, and I'm so excited that I'm here with Skate Fresh Asha. I don't call her anything else but Skate Fresh Asha.
Bless you.
I don't know, you're too good to just call Asha. You're too good for one name.
Bless you, bless you. Well, it's been fun, and we got some skate footage to share as well, haven't we?
So fantastic.
So yeah, that was fun.
Slowing down like a drive.
Oh, it was so fun.
Nice. That was beautiful.
Great.
I like you wrapping it up at the right point too.
Stay low.